Up. It's light in here. You doing all right? Give me a second. Give some people's time to get in while I straighten up the room. And see if I can get this chat on TV so I don't strain my eyes. Give me a second. Alright. Cool. Got the chat up. Move the fancy chair. Give some people some time to jump in. What day is it again? Is it Happy Wednesday. There we go. It's Wednesday. Why does it seem so dark in here today? It's weird. Didn't let anybody know, so we'll give them a minute or two to jump in. What is up, guys? What is up? Did I miss anything? Welcome to the Pajama Tea Chat. What is up, my friends? How's everything going? Figured I'd do the say hello to my little friend stream. Do some ranting. I saw something interesting today. There's this channel, excuse me, Fight Commentary Breakdowns, and it pops up randomly on my TV sometimes, and I'll check it out. And it's usually like, you know, this guy that doesn't seem to have very much experience at all, and he's analyzing fights of like, you know, this style versus this style, and you know, it's like compoundingly terrible because on top of the fact that he doesn't really have a strong enough martial arts or base to be making commentary the way he does, but he's also using these modernized systems and saying, oh, it's Taekwondo versus Muay Thai, and it's Tai Chi versus this thing. And, you know, obviously styles don't fight styles. People fight people, and the training methods fight the training methods. But it's not the style, okay? And a lot of these modern styles are so far removed from the actual principles of the real systems. Like, modern Taekwondo is nothing like the original, like what I studied was Korean karate, was the, you know, Tangsudo, right, with the original form before it even branched out, like the very first system. Looks completely different. There was arguments in the like 90s that they were, you know, at that point were saying that, oh, you're not Taekwondo, you're not even like Tangsudo, you're Korean karate, okay, that's what we go by now. It's just so far removed. Modern Taekwondo is Korean kickboxing with really sloppy hands, okay? So, like, just on the premise there, you know, and then try and say, oh, well, you know, Taekwondo was weak, and this, no, it's just this whole modernization and commercialization makes everything slop ass. So, you know, you have obviously, like, you know, modern combat sport like Muay Thai, which has been a combat sport since, you know, even from the Baran styles. You know what I mean? Obviously, they have a more effective training regimen than the modern Taekwondo half kickboxing weird point thing that's going on. So making those comparisons is ridiculous. So why bring this up? Recently, I guess today, there's a Tai Chi guy who's in MMA, and holy crap balls, like, you know, you can see some like of the yielding principles, but his Tai Chi boxing is non-existent and completely against the principle. I mean, and I'm going to try to go over that and explain, because he was, you know, this guy was asking. I want to actually make a response video, but I don't even want to get involved with these people. But you can check it out. The channel was Fight Commentary Breakdowns, and you can see what I mean of this Tai Chi boxing. And God, these modern styles are so far removed from reality or the original systems that they shouldn't even be calling it that. It's so ridiculous. So, God, where would I start with this guy? So, I give the guy credit because he definitely had the yielding skills and he definitely had like, decent rooting, but he was lacking any of the chin na, sway jiao, like that was like really obvious, and his boxing was just horrendous. Like his guard made no sense, and it almost looked like Sistema, you know what I mean? But bad, where he's disconnected his arm from his shoulder and he's just hitting like this, like using his forearm as a club. I mean, your arm, let's just say your arm weighs 30 pounds. The top section of your arm maybe weighs 10 pounds, 15 pounds. So even if you're swinging it pretty fast, it's going to do surface damage. You're not going to get any kind of penetration strike. So I want to go over what the most fundamental foundational principles of what Tai Chi boxing should look like universally. And if you know, like my original system of William C.C. Chen, he was a famous Tai Chi boxer. He was, and his kids are famous for like whooping ass in MMA and in Muay Thai and boxing. As far as I know, William C.C. Chen is the only legitimate Tai Chi boxing system in our era. I haven't seen anybody else that has a legitimate boxing system that can be transferred to a sport context. Okay? Tai Chi in fact, martial arts, traditional martial arts for combat, it's not meant to have an engagement as a one-on-one fight where rules and you're, striking these like safe targets, like safe, you know what I mean? Like standard, commercial sport targets. It's not how it goes. It's supposed to be similar to a sword fight, where one person moves, the other person, whoever gets in first, the other person is maimed or dead. That's what real martial arts should look like, And the traditional point systems came from an era where these guys were kicking trees, breaking bricks, like these guys were no joke. If you really can find the footage, or like Masoyama, for instance, like ripping out a bull's rib barehanded and cutting the bull's freaking horn off with his bare hands. Like, this is not like I'm making it up. These guys are, scary people, okay? You're not, in modern times, like the power level is so obscene that the normal people can't comprehend it. And that's why when I do like these demos and stuff, a lot of people, they can't comprehend it when they see me hit the bag and the 75-pound bag is jumping and they don't understand it, like, oh, the bag must be empty or something. But I want to go over like the basic premise of universal concepts of what Tai Chi boxing should look like and how you do it functionally, and hopefully it'll make sense, okay? So the premise of everything is that you have to start and end in a closed kinetic chain. And there's really only two power generators. You have the 9-section whip and a cannon, okay? It's a mixture of principles from long fist and light crane, and snake, basically, but fundamentally, if you just look at it. And the thing you're gonna see if you watch this fight commentary breakdown guy talking, I give the guy credit, at least he listen, I don't know, so he was good enough to admit that. And I also don't blame people for talking crap about modern Tai Chi because it's nonsense. But it's not Tai Chi that's the problem, and I think these people, like, they have low IQs or they're just not paying attention or even thinking. But a 2,000-year-old martial art, you know what I mean? Like, that was made to fight warlords on horseback and stuff with every weapon imaginable. You gotta admit to yourself something happened to the style. The style these people are practicing isn't the real deal, okay? There's things that are completely missing that we're missing, taken away on purpose. So, we gotta go over the closed kinetic chain principle. And again, I keep repeating this, you wanna look at powerlifting versus bodybuilding. Alright, so if a bodybuilder is doing a bench press or like a cable exercise, right? You're going to see segmented anatomy where they have an open chain where they'll isolate one section of their body so that they get a pump and work that in isolation because they're trying to get display effect. They're trying to shape muscles, not so much get power, okay? What you want to do is connect the body in a close kinetic chain, you know what I mean, and have the fascia work in one piece, okay? The bones together, because the fascia and the bones cannot be separated, the fascia and the muscles can't be separated, they work in unison. And I'm going to keep repeating this ad infinitum. When people start talking about the fascia as a separate thing that you can activate individually it goes against the premise of what fascia is and the whole entire idea and concept of discovery of the system working in unison, holistically. Fascia does not work in isolation, right? The body does not work in isolation. The whole premise of anatomy trains is that the body does not work in isolation. Even the anatomy trains, like, when you talk about the spiral line, that spiral line can't work without the other lines acting in unison to support and stabilize. So we don't work in isolation. Okay. So there's two methods, basic methods to throw a punch in taiji or any kind of strike, right? You have the cannon fist or the 9-section whip, right? So let's just, I'm trying to really make this a simple idea, okay? When you look at the most fundamental part is really like this cannon kind of like or wrecking ball type of energy, where you make a chain, close kinetic link from the bones, from the hands into one of the feet. It doesn't matter if it's ipsilateral or contralateral, okay, one side or cross side. It doesn't make a difference. The idea is that you're making a line, a chain, even from one leg, that this is routed to this, or this is routed to this. It's connected to the floor. If there's a disconnection in any of these 9 sections, you lose your power, okay? So fundamentally, cloud hands should be the place you start to understand the basic mechanics of how to throw the Tai Chi punches. Cloud hands is literally Mike Tyson knock and a punch out, you know? It's literally it, okay? When you watch Mike Tyson load up, the mechanics are literally cloud hands, okay? When he throws that punch and he's like loads his leg and shovels in, that's cloud hands, okay? Cloud hands looks like this, but cloud hands is, when you go in full combat speed, doesn't look like that, okay? The slow form is to be practicing a check swing in baseball or a golf swing. Like when you check the swing and you just like kind of like do this to make sure your swing is perfect. That's the idea, okay? So these people somehow their delusional minds and the fundamental of anybody who says they're boxing and Tai Chi, you should almost see like this holding a wheel and turning the hip effect, where the arms are not the driver, it's non-local power. Okay? That's the idea. Long fist type of strike, where you just move the entire body in unison. So you're hitting the body with everything. Like, this door hinge swings the arm. Okay? Then you have the 9-section whip effect, or the loose boxing effect, which this guy that was fighting on that channel clips, Fight Club Total Breakdown, you see this guy move his arms. He's like this, and he swings his arms like this. That would be okay if it was connected to the bottom of his body. So when you're doing this whipping effect, you have to start in a closed chain, open the chain, and then relink the chain to a closed chain again. So you're linking, unlinking, linking. So to get that whip strike, I have to start from a closed chain, I compress everything, or I close the joints and make everything smaller. Then that creates a tension in the oblique slings, and then we unleash that. It's basically like a rubber band snapping. Everything is loose and limp, and then you close the chain and you relink at the moment of impact. So you should be, again, just like cloud hands, in this closed chain again. So when you see this kind of motions in these pity-patty little things, it doesn't make any sense. Okay? So that's the idea. And there's a lot of that going around that I don't understand because it's not in the form. So you're saying you're a Tai Chi boxer, but you're not doing anything that looks remotely like any in the form. If you're boxing, boxing has kata. Boxing has forms. And you say, oh, no, it doesn't. Yes, it does. When you learn basic maneuver, you learn a jab, right? The mechanics of a jab, okay? It's the same as doing karate, sitting in a horse stance and doing this, right? Or doing your overhead walks, okay? When you do your parries, you do your catches, fine, you learn the fundamentals. Then you do pad drills, okay? Depending on who the coach is, you have memorized pad drills, okay? And then they're triggered response, and you go through very similar training. Just because people shadowboxing aren't using a standardized set algorithm or linear path, doesn't mean they're not doing a kata, they're just doing an improvised kata. They're doing an improvised form. Hope I'm not losing anybody here. Okay? And make sure when you come in, you like, share, and subscribe. So, yeah, so that's basically the idea. You want, when this guy is doing this whipping arm thing, right, he should be whipping to link into a closed chain. So at the moment of impact, it's the same thing as cloud hands or any other part of the form. If you're unlinked, you're hiding the link, right? But on a basic premise, like, you should really think it should look like Yichar, like, in a sense. When you see them boxing, the hands are out and they just shoot like this. That's really what it should look like, right? You have spin almost like fan, right? That's it. That's your jab right there. And it doesn't look like much, but if you notice the mechanics, my entire body links at that last second. So he's getting hit with the entire mass of my body on the contact. So I weigh 200 pounds, and I'm moving at 40 miles an hour. That's a lot of force, right? It's supposed to be the ultimate fist. You know, the ultimate fist is... and there's no guard. Like, his guard's just this weird monkey arm thing. And like, there's no Tai Chi form that has that. So where are these people getting off calling it Tai Chi boxing, and then where are these commentators coming off saying, no, that's real Tai Chi? It's just a circle of fuckery. So I don't know what to say about it, but I figured I would do a little rant and see who comes on and if they have any questions about the subject. So I think that for the boxing premise, you want to think of all the regular boxing techniques that you would see, but you're trying to use the same vectors and fundamental mechanics, but the changes is you're loose and you do this closed chain throwing the boulder at the guy, the wrecking ball, okay? It's the wrecking ball swinging back and forth. I don't even need to use my arms. I just do that stretch reflex, and then similar to a lot of the Chinese styles, you hold it and you move the whole frame. Or like, Xingyi or other type of moves like that, where you have this like link, and you're like, how do I explain this? It's like the whole frame is what you're hitting the guy with. So it should look like, bang, just like that. So your hands are out, and then you only need to move this much distance. And that's enough, okay? That's a lot of force if you're doing it with a closed chain. But these guys don't understand that, and they're not doing anything related to the form. And that goes back to the whole missing the training syllabus in order that's like classical karate used to have. Okay, people, they lost the reasoning of why these practices were done in the order they were practiced in. So it makes a big difference. But the whole whipping effect and the loose boxing thing, again, it's hitting closed chain. You start from a linked position, right? You compress. You use that compression to take the posterior oblique sling, anterior or posterior oblique sling. Basically, you have this line of muscle, spiral line of muscle, they call it in the fascial shit. But basically, there's a line of muscle that goes this way, a line of muscle goes this way. And like a rubber band, it pulls, and then you unpull it, and it wants to slingshot. At that point, you decouple, you unlink the joints. It's flying in free flow. But the moment of contact, you have to relink. Okay? And I don't understand how this has been so misunderstood that you have a guy calling himself Tai Chi boxer and he's doing this. And he has no basic guard skill, like and just blocking with his face. The way you block in Tai Chi is like this, right? You're basically using like iron palm, and when the punch comes, you smack the punch as hard as you possibly can. So it's like a boxing catch, but you're trying to break his wrist or break his hand, okay? And take your forearm and make a dead weight of your hand and just drop it down as if you have a pie and you want to smush it in, okay? And it's like, okay? And see what that feels like. And then try doing up your whole body at full speed. It hurts. You'll see a lot of the old like black and white boxing matches, like the white crayon guys and all those guys, and you'll see them swinging like this, but they're aiming for the back of the guy's hand to break his knuckles. Okay? So things like that somehow have been completely misconstrued or lost. And I don't understand how we got this far away from reality. It's, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. But I would definitely suggest that anybody who doesn't understand, go look at William Chen. But you need to look at William Chen in the old era, when he was young, when he was like, young, like his son's age, and he actually just like won those boxing tournaments and all those stuff. And you can see like, a lot of the people back, it's, they're throwing their whole body to the punch, to the punch. Their whole body like a slingshot ripping into the person. Not this, like what is this? This isn't Tai Chi at all, because it's not linked. And again, if you're going to use the whipping effect, if you look at how a whip operates, the whip is in a closed chain, it decouples, and at the ends, it stretches out and creates almost a closed chain from handle to the tip. For an instant, for a small fraction of a millisecond, that whip straightens out and you hear that crack. It's the same crack sound you hear when you throw a punch, right? Or, especially if I have a uniform on, it sounds like a pop. Okay, it's like, okay, so it's just it's a certain sound you hear from the joints and the air moving. Okay, it should sound like this whoop, like a whoop, and it should cut the air. You should hear it. Okay, and that's what it's close to. Open hands, you should hear some kind of sound. It should make like a kung fu movie sound. Otherwise, you're not doing it right. Shouldn't be this do-do-do-do-do. So that's what I want to go over, okay? And, as I've been saying, we're going to gear the channel to more of rediscovering and exposing the old proper application theory. I need to start figuring out the prerequisites to get you guys up to date, the people who are actually paying attention to, actually give stuff, care about the stuff. So that's basically it. If anybody showed up, any questions, comments, accusations, that was the time. I wasn't planning on staying on too long. I figured I'd see who would show up on a random Wednesday. But that's the deal. But yeah, check that channel out and see what I mean. It's like the blind leading the blind, in a cage match of blind people. It's like, that guy's whole channel is watching like mediocre guys, training and like, and that really bothers me too, because saying like one person represents an entire system. Like styles like have millions of participants say, oh, this style's bad, blah blah blah, and then highlighting the bad parts and then ignoring all the good parts. Like how many knockouts, spectacular knockouts have you seen from Taekwondo guys in UFC and K1 and all sorts of stuff? Like when it works spectacularally, and it's like devastating. Even the bad modern Taekwondo, it's no joke, okay? So it's just weird to me that these people are so enamored by looking at the failures of individuals and then trying to like knock an entire system. I don't get it. But then again, I don't get many humans anymore either. So I just want to figure out if I went through everything I want to go over. And I think that's pretty much what I want to talk about. People are going to pop in, and nobody pops in, I'll be happy because I'm making back to being a sloth. But yeah, that was the main thing. It's really just understanding the fundamentals. And should I go over? We can go over some of the form stuff. Like, for instance, like, when you see taiji boxer guys, you don't see any of the movements, right? So the ward-off is a back fist. It's also a cover, right? So it has dual function. Just like classical karate and all that stuff, blocks are strikes and strikes are blocks. Well, in Tai Chi, everything does everything. Okay? So, the ward-off posture has like multi-function. It can do anything you need to do. It could be a throw, grapple, dislocation, strikes, launch somebody. It does everything at once. Which is the hard thing for people to process, and which is why to do this style for real, it takes a long time. And you really need a prerequisite training course in some other hard style unless you have a real hardcore traditional teacher with a real syllabus that is similar to karate. where it's an organized quality control method to get you from 0 to hero, you know? And I was very lucky that I started off with these very militarized systems, and so when I was meeting all these teachers, I was able to understand it and relate. You know, and I also have a lot of experience in Chinese arts in general with random martial arts, so it was easier for me. So I take that for granted. But there's just, you know, basic things. Let me think. Yeah, I mean, like, another thing that would probably be good for most people is to do a square form, but not in the, because it's like a lot of styles do square form, they have all these extra moves. When I say square form, I mean literally making breaks like in karate. You have a chamber phase and action phase. So everything is in 2 steps, right? So you have your chamber phase, and you have your action phase. You have your chamber phase, you have your action phase. You have your chamber phase, you have your action phase. Chamber phase, action. Okay, chamber phase, action phase. Okay? And you should think of it like that if you're planning on using this for any kind of combat scenario. Okay? Same with the basic version. I have my corner cock and then corner cock again. Okay? Wind up. Okay? So wind up. Wind up. Okay? So it should look like very distinct strikes. The circles tend to hide that. And, you know, this is why, you know, when I teach this stuff, I always teach it in this method. Because a square and a circle have the same amounts of degrees as the radius, right? 90, 90, 90, 90 is 360. You know what I mean? So there's actually a thing in math called squaring the circle. You can look that up. And it's basically like this idea of trying to get the circle and the square to wind up being perfectly equal and all this weird shit. But that's the idea, okay? It's really the premise of Tai Chi being expressed in the universe mathematically again. You know? So, that's what that is. Let me think. Other things this guy did that were kind of funky. I think that's it. I know I'm going to forget, I forgot something, I'm going to think about it later. I'm like, I forgot, and oh, whatever. But, yeah, that's about it. That's what I really want to talk about. I don't think there's really much else. What was I going to say? Also, we'll be doing online classes now. So if you guys are interested in private lessons online, okay, it'll be over Zoom or Discord. Like I said, when we get the Discord to have at least 100 members, I'll do at least one free class a month for everybody, and I want to invite other instructors to come to promote their schools and do free classes in the Discord also, like little seminars and things like that. So if you guys want to help promote the Discord and get people up there, so we get enough people to show up, you know, I'll definitely reach out to all the other instructors that I know, and we'll see to get them in there for you. But can't do that. I'm not going to invite these instructors to come and spend their time if there's only like 3 people going to show up for them. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense. And I don't know anybody else is trying to do anything like that, so you know, it'd be nice if you guys tried to help out for once, other than just running your mouth. Okay? So that would be pretty helpful. Oh! I found this cool toy that we were using as a training device. It's called a flow ring. You could probably find this on Amazon. Okay? It was given to me as a gift. I have a bunch of them. But it's kind of cool because you can use them to practice silk reeling and just get your timing down and get the arm. Because if you just use your arm, it's not going to work. But when you use basic silk reeling, it works. So it's kind of a cool little training device. And it looks cool and it feels nice on your arm. So it's a cheesy little toy, but it was a nice gift. And it actually does work, and I've used it with some students, and it did help them to get that, you know, effect of getting the joints to work in order. Because there's a thing about counter-rotation in setting the joints that is very overlooked, where each joint should be rotating the opposite direction to the target. So the elbow goes down, the hand goes in, or the shoulder goes in, so that the wrist and the shoulder move, the elbow and the knee are aligned. So like the wrist and foot, shoulder and hip, elbow and knee are aligned. So it's kind of like this counter rotational thing, and everything's just a corkscrew at once. And that's where that setting of everything and the power comes in. You see this in like, very clearly in Jing right? The frames are very like clear. Like I've only taken a couple lessons, with my friends, like really just like exchanging in the park and stuff. But you can see the frame really expresses that very well. With Tai Chi, everything is hidden. That's why it's so important. If you want to get into Tai Chi in this generation, you need to have basic fundamentals in the hard style and some of these at least the basic understandings of how like crane and snake and the ancestor arts and all of it. Something to have a foundation so you can start to see like what happened, what these things are doing. And then, another part of Tai Chi is there's 8 techniques, 8 theories that are moving in 4 directions, right? They say 5 steps, but sensory equilibrium is not a step, it's a standing still. So, you know what I mean? But you want to be really technical, and you would say 8, you really would be able to say that there's 8 techniques and 8 steps, because you look at the symbol of the body on the floor, and the chaos symbol, you'd have 4 directions and 4 corners, right? So that's another one that's probably important to think about. But we'll get there eventually, guys. I'm still processing how I'm going to pull this off in the next couple of months for you. And I'm not sure what the best way to do it is, because not only is my interpretation and collection of the techniques and theories so different than what people expect, the real technique, even documented, is so different than what people are doing right now. Like, when I look at the modern push-in competition with the fixed step stuff, it's a great training game, but where in the classics does that fit in? Like, the idea of standing in one position, holding space, and fighting for a position seems so antithetical to the theory of, that's why I'll play this, the standing for fun for some time, but I try to, as fast as possible, get out of that, because it's never going to happen, right? Even if I'm in a position, let's just say, hope I don't knock the phone off the broken thing, right? Even if I'm in a position with my back against the wall, right? Let's do it like this, so I don't have to put my butt in the doorknob. Okay, so let's just say I have my back against the wall, right? Yeah, I could use that theory to hold my space and fight from here, but that would make no sense. You want the space you can have. In fact, I want to get out of here. I want to be mobile, right? How long do you stay in the Wuji, empty space holding, even in the form? You stay, the whole point is to start moving, right? Because it's life, It's kind of like the expression of the cycle of life in a sense, And when you look at it, like, who does that? So, someone attacks you and you're back against the wall. Yeah, I can fight from here, but what I really want to happen is I want to let this guy show me the energy path he's coming from, make space, and then trade position with him, right? I want to get him over here, as however I can, right? I can use the wall as a brace to do some techniques, but my eventual goal is to disable him and escape, or to trade position and put him in this position, as fast as possible. So a lot of these theories, like, yeah, for an instant, same as like Chisao. Chisao is great when you understand its premise. It's supposed to be isolating the moments of the bridge or the first contact, right? So if someone throws a hook punch, you're so used to, like, I can't hear it, but I should automatically be flowing into the attack and getting out, right? Not sitting here in this trade-off game and then restarting. No, it should be, okay, bang, 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 and then keep going, get the frick out of there, right? It's you want to think disable him. And a lot of these modern schools and places that this, I want to, and show I'm punching you in the face and here's my ego. Not, I'm going to take your head off and go home. It's a big deal. And this is the problem with Tai Chi. It's like, Tai Chi would work very well for any of the real combat sport fighting people who took it up seriously and studied it and dissected it and applied combat theory to the motions. right? It's a cult, it's hidden, right? So you need to have a functional base in some kind of fighting, basic boxing, kickboxing, anything, to understand how to make it work. It's a master's art. It's not something for a beginner to just start off with and have no combat experience. Again, unless you're doing it in a very traditional setting where they actually still hit each other. Otherwise, it's not going to work, it's not going to help you. I was very lucky. The first Tai Chi system I learned was William C.T. Chen, and at the time I learned it in the 90s, it was like 95 or 6. Probably maybe, it had between 95 and 90, it was early 97, right? And they were still hitting people. My first lesson was me getting punched in the chest with a phone book. With a phone book on my chest, and he just blasted me, and I thought like my back was going to explode. I'm like, okay, this Tai Chi stuff is pretty cool. I kind of like that. You know? So for me, it was a different experience. I don't think any of the modern Tai Chi people start off with getting hit. And I can tell you this from, firsthand over the grapevine from people who studied, that William Chen and other people, they made the style easier because, and he even says it, William Chen even said it in his videos, that he made the style easier so that more people could be able to do it and make it more accessible. And that's great for health, but it's kind of a disservice because, in order to be able to do real combat, you have to suffer. You have to hurt all the time. Okay? You should be tired, you should be, and you should be worried about getting punched in the face. And if you've never sparred and they punch you in the face, I don't understand how your teachers are so delusional, don't care about your safety enough to prepare you to get punched in the face. They're like, no, you can just, make believe you're painting the air fence and then go fight some UFC guy. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Oh man, so I think that's the end of my rant. I hope it was productive to whoever sees it later. Questions, comments, accusations, you know where to find me. Like, share, and subscribe, and I don't know, I'll adjust things as they come along. But let me know if I missed anything, and yeah, I think that's about it. I really want to make sure I get everything before I sign off, because I hate that when I forget stuff. It makes me, it makes me upset in my soul. But yeah, so if you have any questions, comments, accusations, you can leave them in the place below and stuff. Join the Discord, the Cheat Chat. It's in the community tab, with the About section, all the other videos. I'll make sure it's in the description here as well. Online classes will be on Zoom. Find me in Discord, or you can just message me here, whatever, and we'll get set up with you, right? So, see you guys later, and peace out. Like, share, and subscribe!